Hi, I'm Mike. Today on the project list, we continue our high tunnel build, but with a new side of it. Without water, there's no point to building a new garden. So today we tackle garden irrigation on our Wyoming Life. Welcome back to the project list as we keep working on the high tunnel. Now, we've been making progress here and there, but while building the high tunnel is on the top of the list, that doesn't mean that some other pretty important jobs can't come in and trump it. Water is the lifeblood of the ranch, and whether it comes in the form of rain or we pull it out of the ground via wells that are scattered all over the place. Our water wells can vary from 35 feet to 600 feet deep, but each one serves its purpose. Some are used for livestock water, filling ponds that cows will drink out of all summer, while others supply water to houses, corrals, and barns. But one of the most used and heavily taxed wells on the ranch is the one that Erin uses for her garden irrigation. This water well feeds all of Erin's gardens, as well as the house's lawn irrigation and the sprinklers in Erin's mom's yard. In addition, coming off this well is a line that runs 3.5 miles back on the property, with hydrants in each and every pasture for supplemental water for the cows and other livestock, protecting us in case a windmill goes down or a reservoir dries up or a well stops working. Every fall, we shut down a lot of the wells around here for winter, blowing out lines in order to get every last bit of water out of them. Even a drop of water left in to freeze inside a valve, for example, will expand, and one little bit of water can be enough to break metal or crack plastic. A lot of the garden irrigation runs above ground, so this step in our winter prep is very important. But even so, there are issues that we run into. The problem is that we won't know about them until spring. And usually by the time we get the water turned back on, it's a matter of we need water now, and fixing it becomes a priority pretty quick. Once Erin has plants in the ground and they're going to need water. We can't count on spring rain, so garden irrigation usually gets preference over other projects going on at the moment. Erin's big garden is 140 feet long and 60 feet wide and encompasses over 8,000 square feet of space. The water for it is fed by 10 different sprinklers, and this portion of the garden irrigation is usually the area that gives us the most grief every spring. Most of the irrigation utilizes polypipe, a hard plastic that's very durable and stands up to winter freezes pretty well, even if there's a bit of water left in it. But the main garden irrigation uses PVC pipe for some reason, and that doesn't stand up to Wyoming winters at all. I should switch it all out, but that's a project for another day. For now, we can try turning on the water and fixing any leaks that we find, most of which are pretty small. Usually the leaks happen at a turn or a joint in the pipe, and they're easily fixed by replacing the section or the fitting that's broken. On PVC pipe, if there's an issue, we start by removing the busted piece and rejoin the ends together using a coupler, applying primer to the PVC pieces, then glue, and pressing them together. When the polypipe or joints within it are the culprit of a leak, we can use barb fittings and hose clamps to put the pieces back together. Just make sure you keep an eye out for the rooster, who likes to investigate what's going on his turf and then scare the crap out of you when he moves in for the attack. I'm not really sure how much longer this rooster is going to last on the ranch, to tell you the truth. After the entire system is pieced back together, we can test it. But pressure is really low. Our first suspicion is that the line that leads back to the pasture, the one that goes 3.5 miles back out there into the open, is open and needs to be shut off. If the system has to fill all that line, it can take hours. So it's time for a quick trip to the well house and the pit to shut it off. But when we arrive, we find a whole new problem, and one that's much more serious than a valve left open. The well pit is flooded. Now, this is not a good thing, as you can imagine, and it means many more hours of work are going to be involved in this project. The purpose of the pit is to contain all the plumbing to run the well. Luckily, this is a two-part well. The little well house to the side of the well contains all the electrical components of the well, and the pit house has all the plumbing parts, and the actual well is located in between the two. As far as I can tell, at the moment, a pipe has burst, which has been steadily filling the pit with water. This pit is 12 feet deep, in order to keep all the plumbing parts well below the frost line. All of the insulation you see floating around in the water, well, that was used to insulate lines during the winter. The blue tank that's floating as well is the pressure tank, and that keeps the pressure up and steady and keeps the well pump from cycling on and off. No matter how you look at it, this is a mess. Now there's times that you wish you could call a plumber to come and fix a problem, wash your hands of it, and come back later and find it done. But for us, that's not much of an option. A plumber is going to charge $100 an hour or more when we know the problem is probably a $5 part that broke. Looks like we're going to have to tackle this one ourselves. The first step is getting all the water out of the pit. After killing the electricity to the well, after all, death is not on my agenda for today, we can start pumping it out. This calls for a sump pump and a generator to move the water up and out, and takes about an hour or so to accomplish. By early evening, the water is mostly all out, and we can see where the leak is coming from, a broken T in the line. But now, it's time to pack it up. We'll let the pit dry out overnight, and by morning, hopefully, it'll be a bit drier down there and a little bit easier to work in. When the sun comes up this morning, it's now time to get the water up and going once again, or try to anyway. Scrounging through some of our extra plumbing parts in the barn, we're lucky enough to find all the parts that we're going to need to replace the broken T in the pit. And we can take them all and head down. After removing the broken pieces of pipe, we can then start rebuilding. In all reality, a lot of the plumbing down in this pit should be replaced. Rust has been taking its toll on some of the pipe, but for now our main goal is to get it up and running again. This summer, or maybe on a slow day, I can come back and replace a few more of the rusted fittings. One thing we are going to replace right now, though, is the pressure tank that we have in here. We have a brand new pressure tank that a neighbor purchased and didn't need, so we bought it from him for just such an occasion. This tank is a bit bigger than our old one, and will hopefully apply better pressure and more consistent pressure to the gardens. Now this is going to be a bit of a trick. It's not heavy, but it is awkward, and I'm going to have to lower it down into the pit, and that is going to require 2 people. Luckily, we have great neighbors who are all happy to help each other out. A quick phone call gets Gary from about a half a mile down the road up here to give me a hand. Using the tractor and a rope, we can lower the pressure tank slowly into the pit. After we get the plumbing installed, then we can finish by filling it with air. The pressure tank contains an air bladder that keeps pressure against the water inside it, and thereby always keeping the pressure on the water lines. Without a pressure tank, water would be constantly fluctuating, as the pump would be kicking on and off and would basically make the irrigation system useless for watering or irrigating the gardens. Now, it's time to pressurize the system. All leaks should be fixed, the pressure tank should hold pressure for us, and there we go. Water flows, sprinklers work, and Erin's newly planted onions can get a drink. Not a bad day's work. With a few dollars worth of plumbing parts and a new high pressure tank, we have a water system that the Romans would be proud of. Of course, a special thanks to our neighbor Gary, who didn't mind coming down and putting in a few hours work when it was needed. And trust me, I'll be returning the favor soon enough. With the water flowing, we're now past the major springtime hurdle of getting the garden irrigation back up and running, and we can move on to the next project on the list, which you can join me for next week on the project list. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Erin's going to be back this week from the garden, and we have a whole bunch of really cool stuff planned for you, and it's all on the way. Find us and like us on Facebook for all the details on our current giveaways and more. Until next time, have a great week. And thanks for joining us in our Wyoming Life.